Hey everyone, this is John Garrett from hypertransitory.com, and today I'm going to be talking about web hosting. And I've gotten a few questions, emails recently about where I web host, and coincidentally, I've had situations just in my, my regular, day job dealing with hosting that I really think that I can really help some people out with regards to what is good hosting and what represents a bad web host. So the one thing I tell people, first of all, when they're going to set up a website, you obviously want to find out what are you trying to do. Are you trying to do e-commerce? Are you trying to do blogging? Or what are you trying to do? And I found that where I work at, the majority of our clients, they don't need top tier hosting, and in fact would run away shrieking in terror if we were to present them with the prices that were necessary for top tier hosting. And I found just from our clientele that they're not pulling in the kind of traffic really that warrants that. And you'd wish they would. I mean, there are some that have graduated to higher levels, but most of them don't. And you really need to be realistic about that. Now, there are places where you can go and get solid shared hosting. Obviously, it's not going to be as good as dedicated hosting, but sometimes you hear these people and they say, a black and white blanket statement like shared hosting is, businesses have no business being on shared hosting. If you are, doing e-commerce or anything, you have no business being on shared hosting, which is just not true. Those people are taking the easy way out and they're making a blanket statement, but they don't want to evaluate the specific situation of the client, of the website that is necessary. So I say you have to put in some work up front and really evaluate what is going to be necessary. And you need to be with a host where you're going to be allowed to grow. If they just have one plan and that's it, and then you outgrow it, you got to move to a new host. So you're going to have to be thinking of those things. And so, when I come at it and I say, well, if you're small, then start small, and hopefully you will grow to a situation where, hey, I've got so much traffic, I really got to upgrade this hosting, and hopefully it's also accompanied by a situation where the revenue is growing along with it. But what I want to say too is what are you doing? Are you doing e-commerce? Are you doing blogging? Like what are you trying to run? And if you're trying to run Joomla, then you need to really start and say who can run this for me, and not only who can do it, who does do it, who does Joomla hosting. That's who you need to find. Not the people who say, well, we have the specs met so that we can run it. No, you want the host that's saying, hey, this is what we do. We run Joomla. And the same thing for WordPress. Hey, this is what we do. We run WordPress, and we're fine-tuned and optimized for WordPress. And same thing with Drupal or anything, Magento, anything you are trying to run. You need to find the host that is saying, this is what we do, and knows the ins and outs of it. And a lot of times, these web CMSs and other programs, e-commerce, they might have official hosting. And you can always start there at the official host, because you're probably not going to go wrong with the official host. If you really just want security and you want backup on it, and well, yeah, you are, you should really stick with the official host. And at my job, we run Joomla a lot, and we'll set up a lot of customers with Joomla. And it's kind of it's kind of funny at our situation. We're using a host that really, in my opinion, not very good. But I'm not in the position at my current job to do anything about it. But when I work on jobs for myself or for other clients of my own, and if they're really a higher end client that has a lot of traffic and there just can't be any issues, then I'll say, hey, go with the official Joomla host. Go with I believe it's pronounced Rockin host. Go with Rockin. The prices are a bit higher, but if you are a business that is worried about that and is willing to pay for it, then go for it. They know Joomla in and out. And, I used to host with them for a site that I had. And, it worked perfectly. I never had issues installing. And some hosts, you try to install something and it doesn't work. For whatever reason, there's some, system PHP issue that is not on and you have no control over, which happens many times in shared hosting. But other times there's ways around it. But you got to see what your client needs. And same thing for WordPress. I have a couple of sites now on WordPress, and I don't have it on I guess what is probably the premier WordPress. I think the one that's recommended by like Yoast.com is like VPS.net or something. And I'm not at that level of traffic yet. I wish I was, but I'm not. But I'm looking forward to the day when it's necessary for me to transfer over there and run a, CDN, content delivery network and such. It's just not necessary at this point. I noticed that the WordPress website lists DreamHost as their top, WordPress hosting provider. And I'm like, really? I've used DreamHost before too. And, I didn't find it specifically optimized for anything one way or the other. But I do know people who are on there, and I've recommended people to there, and they're having a, fine time of it and using the shared hosting, and nothing's ever went wrong. But to me, I want to be at a host where they're saying, this is what we can do. Now, let me tell you some signs of a bad host. And I've ran into some of these hosts, and unfortunately I've had to work with some bad hosts just because of not being in control of who you're going to host with. So what you really don't want to do is end up with a host where you lose control. Now, I've worked with this one particular host that they have these obscure security demands where they lock down everything essentially. So everything's locked down, so you can't change anything. So wow, it must be secure. Not exactly. And there are security suggestions that are made by WordPress, made by Joomla and Drupal. These are suggestions that a webmaster should take a good look at and see if it's necessary for his client. You don't want a host to implement those security suggestions for you. Specifically, I had one with Joomla where Joomla has a security hack. It's definitely a hack, but it's on their website, on their official docs, where you can move your config file out of the main root directory, move it up out of there, and just set an alias to it so that it's not visible to every Joe Schmo. However, this will prevent you from utilizing many features of the Joomla backend, especially the system configuration area, because you won't be able to get to the config file. So anytime you try to do anything in there, it won't work. It'll just error and say not writable or something. Now, I've had hosts implement that for me, and I'm installing Joomla, and then suddenly I can't do anything. I have to go find the config file and do it manually in the config file, which I'm pretty good with code and finding things. That's fine if I decide to do it. But if I'm the webmaster and the web host is making decisions they shouldn't be making, that's a host I'm not going to use. And here's the thing, when you use the official Joomla host, they don't force that security hack on you. So make sure that when you're at a host, you have control of the day-to-day operations. You should be able to make decisions concerning the security of the site. And if they don't have their server set up in such a way that you are isolated from damaging other people, then you need to move to another host. I've had these hosts, the same one that did the security hack. Oh, we've got to make sure other sites on the server are not taken down, so we need to do this security hack. Well, Rockin' Host has far more sites than these people do, and they don't force it on me, and they have shared hosting, they have different tiers of hosting, and they must have it set up in such a way that they don't have to worry about that. And that's the kind of host I want to use. I want to use a host who is really up on things and is able to set up each site so that we don't impact or the impact is minimized of the effect of my site on other sites on the server. So this is something you've got to be looking at. Like if you log into your host and they have a bunch of features there, but every time you click on a feature, it says you need to email someone for this. You need to call someone for this. Okay, have them do this for you. Unless you're looking for a turnkey solution, there are turnkey solutions when you just don't have time for that and you just want someone else to do it. That's fine. But if you're looking for control, you don't want to be emailing someone asking for, every little this, that, and the other. Can you install this? Can you do that? I can't change permissions. I can't do this. Well, that's not okay because you have to be able to do these things. And so I'm not talking about like turning on like SSH or turning on, some of the really in-depth features that, are probably off by default. I mean, normally when I go to a host, I have to email them and say, hey, could you set up the SSH for me so I can, I can log in that way. And I can understand why that's not on by default. Not everybody's going to use that. Why even have it on? So that's perfectly fine. But you get to a host and there's so many out there now. There are so many options. There is just no reason to settle for a bad web host. And especially with the backup solutions that are available for WordPress and for Joomla. I'm not sure about Drupal, but I'm sure they must have something equivalent. I mean, using Joomla, Akiba backup, I can have that site, collected, copied, downloaded, and have it at another host, within 5 or 10 minutes. And I'm sure the same thing is possible with WordPress. I believe there's a backup solution for that does the same thing. Just collects your WordPress site in the database, and you're gone. Now, and this is another thing I've had with some bad hosts that whatever their setup is, if you get to a situation where you're trying to install, WordPress plugins or Joomla extensions, and they're just not working, and I've sat there and I fought with these plugins, and this setting in PHP is not on, and this permission is not on here. You have to ask the host this. It's like, what? By the time I wrangle around with that, I'm going to go ahead and move to a different host because it's not worth it. It's your time. Your time is worth more than dealing with a weak-ass, cheap-ass web host. And most of them, they're $10, $12 for shared hosting. That may be all you need. I'm willing to pay for more if that is what is warranted for the website. If not, then I'll stick with the shared hosting. And I've only had a few instances where I've had to switch because of low performance. And when you use a site like pingdom.com and you get those emails in the morning and it says, site was down for 10 minutes. And if it keeps happening and they can't explain it, then I'm gone. Because there's just no reason to stick around. I mean, you're not trapped. Make sure your data is not trapped, and you back up, and you can just skate on out of there. Now, with that said, do your due diligence up front, and check with other people who are doing the same thing. Try to check in the forum. Some web hosts don't have an accessible forum until you are a customer. I can kind of agree with it. Sometimes they don't want, looky-loos leeching off bandwidth just for nothing. But it kind of shows me that, well, if they're letting me in, they're trusting me here. They're kind of trusting me and trusting in their service that there's not going to be a bunch of bad negative stuff on their forum. So that kind of makes me feel better about it when I can get to the forum and see what people are really saying. And if I can't, then I'm kind of forced to wonder, and you might check around different hosting, best hosting reviews and other places like that rate the hosts, and the ones that come in there and chime in and have representatives that come in and talk to people, then those are the ones I tend to trust more. And, sometimes you can look at who the gurus are using and see who they have in their advertisement on the side. That might help out too. But, aside from that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here. But I think you see what I'm saying. And if you have any questions about my opinions about web hosting, just leave a comment or email me from my website, and I'll be more than happy to answer you. So aside from that, thank you for watching. Until next time.